Hey friends, Ashton here again with Gents. Guess what time it is? You can already tell by looking at the title of the video. Another pineapple vintage review. Today we're taking a look at Beyond Noir, which is one of the two new releases from Parfums Vintage, so stick with me. And I need to let you guys know, this was sent to me for review. Now I've done presentations for all of the pineapple vintages that I've reviewed so far, so we'll do this presentation pretty quickly. So here's the box. You can see the main difference here is that it's brown in coloration, have the name of the house and fragrance on the front, and on the back you have that cool pineapple vintage painting, classic. On the side you have ingredients. On this side it says caution, don't spray this into a fireplace, don't ingest this, don't spray it in your eyes, I imagine, stuff like that. And then down here, more ingredients. Gotta make sure you get those ingredients on the box. Here is the bottle for Pineapple Vintage Beyond Noir. It's the same as the other Pineapple Vintage bottles. This one does have a black cap. Atomizer on this is pretty nice. Check it out. Nice. Not quite a Dior atomizer, but it's getting there. And then on the bottom, you have the sticker which designates which fragrance you're holding. This is Beyond Noir according to the sticker. That's how you tell the difference on all of the fragrances for Pineapple Vintage. So a really quick rundown for those that are not aware, Pineapple Vintage is a fragrance that's inspired by or a clone of Creed Aventus, depending on who you ask. There's the original Pineapple Vintage, there's Pineapple Vintage Intense, Pineapple Vintage Noir, Pineapple Vintage Noir Intense, and Pineapple Vintage Beyond Noir. So 5 iterations thus far. The classic Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Intense are fruitier, so those are your more pineapple-y, bergamot-y batches of Aventus. And then Noir and Noir Intense are on the smokier side. And since this one is called Beyond Noir, you probably have a good idea of how this one is going to be. You're right, it's smoky. There's much more of that birch feel in this fragrance than in any of the other pineapple vintages that I've smelled, which is all of them. That birch hits you right off the top, right at the beginning. Some people will say it's kind of a pencil shaving smell. To me, it smells more smoky and ashy. You do pick up a little waft of that pineapple and bergamot that Pineapple Vintage is known for, but it is definitely overshadowed by the birch. This one is for people that want a seriously smoky version of Pineapple Vintage. Maybe the people that really liked the older batches of Aventus that had tons of smoke, this is something that would appeal to them. This fragrance is not really complex in the sense that it doesn't change a whole lot from the opening to the dry down. There are nuances that come in. Like I said, you can pick up little whiffs of that pineapple and bergamot, but this is a birch bomb. That's the main note. It makes it known. You can pick up some patchouli in the dry down, but again, birch is the main note from beginning to end on this one. There's maybe the faintest whiff of vanilla in that dry down, but this is mainly just that birch, that smoky ash with nuances of pineapple, bergamot, and patchouli. And what's interesting is I don't go anosmic to Beyond Noir. So Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Intense, at times I will go anosmic to it. So that means I can't really pick up the smell anymore, even though it's projecting like a beast. But I can smell Beyond Noir the whole way through with no issues. And another strange thing is, like I've said, this is ash dominant, it's birch dominant, heavily. But when I spray this on and leave the room, when I come back in, it smells more pineapple-y. It makes no sense, and that really doesn't have any bearing to the fragrance itself, just letting you know. Longevity-wise, this is 6+ hours easy. If it's a good day, you can pull 8 hours or more. Projection is really good the first hour and a half, then it starts to sit a little closer to my skin, but this is one that works really well. Honestly, all of the Pineapple Vintage fragrances work really well in terms of performance for me. Now, as far as the 5 fragrances go from Pineapple Vintage, this is the one that is probably most daring. So this one is going to be more of a love it or hate it type fragrance than the other 4. Pineapple Vintage and Pineapple Vintage Intense are probably the easiest ones to wear. And then Noir and Personally, I don't think you really have that issue. Those get a little bit more difficult because they're just not as mass appealing. Really, Pineapple Vintage Intense came out, some people said that it wasn't different enough from Pineapple Vintage. So with this release, you have to know what you're getting into. It's something that's very smoke heavy, very ashy, lots of birch for the entirety of the fragrance. If that's something that appeals to you, then you should check this out. Don't go into it thinking that it's going to be really heavy on the pineapple or the bergamot or the fruity nature of the other Pineapple Vintage fragrances though, because really it is just whiffs of that you catch. The birch is over top everything like a tart. I can't say that enough. Personally, I like it. I think it's a nice fragrance. But again, if I were going to choose one from this line, it would be Pineapple Vintage Intense. So if you've really looked into Aventus all that much, you'll see that there are some batches that are very smoky, some that are very fruity, and some that are balanced. And I'm pretty sure that what they're doing with Pineapple Vintage is taking almost like an inspired by each type of Aventus, your very smoky, very fruity, and your balanced batches, and then making a Pineapple Vintage that is inspired by that. So this is going to be their extremely smoky batch of Aventus type fragrance, and more power to them. I have a couple of coupons for you. I'll put them in the description as well. First coupon code is coupon, and that gets you $5 off samples. Second coupon code is Gents, all lowercase. That gets you $12.99 off of a 100 ml purchase. Code is good until the 17th of October. All right, guys, that is Beyond Noir. If you have interest in me doing a Noir Intense review, let me know and I can cook one up for you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you guys next time.